You may be seated. I want to thank, before I begin, Beth Catlin and Nancy Newdorf. This is echoing, isn't it? It's okay. I want to thank them for taking a leadership role in our congregation in partnership with HIAS, the Hebrew Immigration Aid Society, which were instrumental in my parents coming to America. My parents were survivors of the Holocaust and refugees in 1947 in a displaced persons camp in Germany. And it was HIAS that gave them the resources to come and begin a new life in America. And before that and ever since, HIAS has made a difference in the lives of both of Jews and in the lives of others seeking a new start, seeking opportunity and hope. My parents never bought a foreign car. Now, it was an earlier time where, if you will, America had a larger share of the market. But my father never bought a foreign car because he was so grateful to America. For him, it was a matter of support, that this country, who had given him so much, demanded his loyalty. We are a people who have known about migration. Most of us had the privilege of having a grandparent or even a parent or yourselves who came to America for that new start. And as a result of those points of contact, have known the challenges of what it means to start over, to learn a new language. It's only in recent years that it occurred to me that my parents had no high school education. So if it was somebody who was required to speak English, they would not have gained entry to America. If it was somebody who was required to have sophisticated skills, my parents would not have gained entrance to America. Which is to say that you never know when somebody comes to America, both what it means to them and what it may mean for their descendants, enriching America. We are Hebrews. Do you know the first time the word Hebrew is used in the Bible? This is the context. I just looked it up earlier today. It deals with Joseph and Potiphar's wife. You know that story of how she, as we understand it, tried to seduce him. And he hesitated. And yet he ran away, leaving her with his clothes. And she held on to his clothes, and this is the first time the word Hebrew is used. Chapter 39, verse 14. She called to the people of her house, and she said to them, Re'u, look, Heviu lanu ish evri. Look, he had to bring us a Hebrew. Ish ivri litzachek banu. Litzachek banu can either mean to mock us or to try and sexually entice us. Ba Elie lishkavimi, he came in order to lie down with me. Ve'ekra b'kol gadol, and I cried out with a great voice. And the second time the word will be used is when she describes it, that same situation, to her husband. And the commentary here on the page of Eitz Chaim reads as follows. There, regarding a Hebrew, ha'ivri, which will get used later, but this is the first time. And the commentary is, there is a clear derogatory intent here. In addressing her domestics, who are probably Egyptians, she appeals to their instinctive suspicion of foreigners who were looked down on by the Egyptians. So know that the first time that the word ha'ivri is used, was used in this derogatory way as that foreigner. In fact, the word ivri, as the rabbis will understand it in the Midrash, is rooted in avar, on the other side. He's the one who came from over there. And they will, in the Midrash, say Abraham stood alone against the world as a moral individual. Last Shabbat, I had the opportunity to be at Parkey's synagogue, a remarkable leader in the modern Orthodox community of synagogues. Its Rabbi Arthur Schneier has been a leader in human rights throughout his career. He's 88 years old and still in the pulpit. His congregation honors him to continue to be their leader after 55 years, with a younger assistant in that case. But Rabbi Schneier spoke, and he also had, I will add with Rabbi Schneier, it was the first demonstration in honor of Soviet Jews. Rabbi Schneier led with Robert Kennedy, because the Russian consulate had moved across the street from him on the Upper East Side. And with Robert Kennedy, they stood in front of that consulate to protest what was a forerunner of the Soviet Jewry movement. And last Shabbat at Parkey's synagogue, they had a guest speaker who was the grandson of Norman Lamb. Norman Lamb, for many years, was the head of Yeshiva University. And this was his grandson, Ari Lamb, who is a PhD from Princeton in history and a rabbi, a rising star in the modern Orthodox world. And interestingly, he didn't speak about last week's Parsha, Lech Lecha. He spoke about this week's Parsha, Vayera. And it also links to refugees and being Jewish. So I will give you a little synopsis of what I thought was a well-presented Devar. And he said to the congregation, "What's so great about Abraham? Why do we feel as if he was an illuminary? Often, people speak of him as the first monotheist, as if it was he who introduced a belief in one God to the world, and that was the great breakthrough." But he said, it's not the case. Abraham was not the first monotheist. There was an Egyptian several hundred years before him named Akhenaten. Now in Egypt, there was a belief in many gods. Akhenaten was the first to say all those other gods have no power. Power resides only in one God, Aten, also known as Ra, the sun god. And in the 5th year of his reign, he, Akhenaten, took on this name with Aten in the root, and he built a city called Amarna in honor of the belief in one God. Except there was a catch. For Akhenaten, the catch was only one person knew what that one God wanted from us, and that was the Son of God. And who was the Son of God? Himself, Akhenaten. And so he said, God Attain is a mystery. He is removed. He's the source of all power. He is one. But he has a son, that is me. And he is the king of the heavens, and I, his representative, am the king of the earth. And so, Rabbi Lamb said, the first monotheist, and he was a monotheist, did so in terms of his construction about power to say, and therefore I have the power. But look at the contrast. And again, he cited this week's Parsha of Abraham. Abraham, in the story just before our Torah reading, challenges God. He challenges God in regard to God's announcement that he would bring destruction on the people of Sodom and Gomorrah for their evil. In fact, I love the introduction in which Abraham says to the angels who are sent on this mission to go to Sodom and Gomorrah, he says to them in verse 17 of chapter 18 from this morning's Parsha, Hamechaseh ani ma'Avraham, should I hide something from Abraham? Asher ani oseh, that I am about to do? Va'Avraham hayo yeh legoy gadol v'atzum, for Abraham will become the head of a great and mighty nation. V'nivrechu vo, and all will be blessed through him. Kol goyei ha'aretz, all the nations of the world. Ki yadativ l'man asher yitzaveh et beito, for I have singled him out, that he might instruct his children and his children's children to keep the way of the Lord, la'asot tzedakah u'mishpat, doing what is just and right, in order that the Lord may bring about for Abraham what he promised him. And so, in the next verse, God reveals to Abraham what he intends to do, which is to destroy this city because of all the evil that is there. And Abraham came forward, and in verse 25 says as follows, after God has said to him, Abraham first says, what if there's 50 righteous? Would you destroy the city if there are 50 righteous? And then now, this one verse among the most dramatic, Abraham says, Chalila lecha, and there's no good translation of Chalila lecha. Chas v'chalila, they say in modern Hebrew. It would be terrible for you, ma'asot kedavar hazeh, to do such a thing. Lahamid tzaddik im rasha, to kill the righteous with the wicked. V'hayaket tzaddik charasha, so that the righteous will be like the wicked. Chalila lach, he repeats it. Oy v'voy lach, it would be terrible for you. Hashofet kol haaretz lo ya'aseh mishpat, would the judge of all the earth not do justly? And so Rabbi Lamb emphasized, Abraham was not the first monotheist. What he was the first ethical monotheist. He was the first in history to say that God, too, is accountable to morality and justice, and even more dramatically, that a human being, ka'afar va'afar, of dust and ashes, could challenge the source of morality and say, Chalila lacha, chas v'chalila, that you should do something less than worthy of you. Now it's remarkable, and I shared with the study group this morning, how the rabbis understand what is midat sdom. What is the nature of a human being like those people in Sodom that were worthy of being destroyed? And so in Pirkei Avot, chapter 5, 12, Arba midot ba'adam, there are 4 qualities to a human being. Ha'omer shali shali, V'shalach shalach. There's the one who says, what is mine, what is yours. Zo midat beinonit. This is the quality of an average person. V'yesh omrim. But there are those who say, zo midat stom. That is the quality of stone. How is that? And that will later be picked up in the Talmud when they speak of midat stom. What is midat stom? What made those people there worthy of being destroyed? It seems by this definition that they're just normal people. What's mine is mine, what's yours is yours. But for at least that opinion, that will gain traction in the Jewish tradition, to say that I have no responsibility to you is to be like Sodom. To say that the only thing that matters is what I have, and you got your own problems, they're not mine. That, the rabbis would say, is evil. Strong words. And if you put those two together, there's a symmetry. It's only natural to say what's mine is mine and what's yours is yours. You got your problems, I got my problems. That's natural. But if one stays there and says, I don't have any responsibility, even though that's a natural response, you have failed to live out your humanity. For Abraham is the first ethical monotheist. He is ha'ivri. That's what we say when we bring first fruits. Arami oved avi. My father was a wandering Aramaean, commonly understood as referring to Abraham. We are a wandering people. We are Americans. America rightly has laws, and the laws are what gives us order. And we have laws of immigration, and we need laws of immigration. For open borders is not wise, nor fair, nor provides a future. At the same time, closed borders is evil. Because if there is no sharing, that's midat stom. We may differ on how much is to be shared, but what is clear is that as a nation of laws, like Abraham speaking to God, those laws control how we as a people must operate. And that's why voting this week and the week after matter. For all of us are the makers of laws by who we elect. And it is our responsibility, however we might weigh in, to help shape the laws of our nation. And may those laws be motivated out of goodness and openness of heart and of generosity. I shared, we are Hebrews. And that appellation, Hebrew, was a derogatory term